recording, start recording, start recording. Hopefully everything works out.
So are you able to play the videos in full, like his debut comparisons?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think eventually I would love to see that in full, and we can just like talk it through.
Yeah, I was gonna go because have those are all in there, right? So I haven't skimmed them, but
so I think the debut one and the open one are both really good to look at, and then obviously the win. I think those are the best ones. And then the others, like you got the individual one in there, but actually the individual one, since you're walking from one side to the other, it's not great visually, but the comparisons are great visually. So
yeah.
Then we can really see, and we can talk about like what the judges were clearly looking for, or maybe what we thought they were looking for and didn't go for.
Yeah, I mean we'll get into it, but the more I looked at the website and what they have listed as stated guidelines, the more it has kind of made sense to me how things went down. But
what did it say? I mean, we'll get into it, but what did it say? It was something about leanness, like general.
Yeah. I mean, I think we should, if we're gonna talk about it, I should just pull it up and we should quote it word for word.
His response.
No, I think this is actual guidelines for classic versus open. Because like, from what I'll let you talk it through, but it seems like they don't want as defined. Like they don't want you as shredded. They want it to be like that golden. Like he could have been like 1 or 2% higher body fat.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because like where me and Jason come from, it's always about shreds. Like, it's always about detail.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. No, and that's like.
I mean, even that though, because I mean, Cole Blint, who's a recent pro in the last year, he's cut down twice for a show, and he finally got to do one because they kept canceling them. But both times he was just shredded to the gills.
Do you know what I think the actual, like if you're gonna compete in OCB and that's the call, and judging by what the open guy won with, you just spill over. Like get diced, but spill over.
Just
you know
eat like 900 grams of carbs 2 days in a row. You're like, well, because you're still gonna be diced. Like
exactly. Yeah. And even if you lose some of the like sharpness, it's fine because that's kind of what they're looking for.
Yeah.
The thing that bugs me, I guess, and we'll get into it a little later, is like the quality of posing that you presented is like clearly above and beyond the other guys. Like clearly, there's like some of the open bodybuilders, you could tell they had like a bit in there, but I mean, put you up in the top 3, you know, for that last call out, I'd be like, oh, I think Joe might have it. So
why is your mic echoey?
Is it echoey right now?
Yeah, it sounds like you're in an empty room.
Probably because I am. Maybe it's not using the right mic.
Hold on. Yeah.
It sounds like ACRO's audio is not going through to
the actual microphone.
The stream.
It's not going through to the stream?
Yeah,
it sounds. No, it does. It sounds like a webcam mic. Yeah, like his mic, just his like main mic that he uses isn't on, so it's going through some other mic. Yeah. I also can't see chat. I have to look way over here because OBS is here and you guys are over here, so which is normally the opposite. Like that's no.
Yeah, I guess stream can't hear us.
Yeah.
So, let me check my settings before we get into it.
Let me see. Stream can hear everybody, right? They're a little low in comparison to me. Okay, hold on. I'll just turn everybody up. There we go.
Yeah, buddy.
And this is gonna fuck it up, because... Actually, maybe I should have it like this. Just for reasons.
Did I fix it?
Visually, it's.
I'm gonna disconnect and reconnect. Will it mess?
Yeah, I took it off full screen, so visually it's gonna be weird now. But let's see. Let me go back to. Go fix it. They're a little low still. Okay, hold on.
Bet. Weehaw, yeehaw. Joe sounds better. Good. Take it.
Well, there we go. How about now? I put you both at 100%. Whoa.
That'll happen.
Where do you go? Oh, there you go.
If you see me disappear, just say something, and I'll, yeah.
Now you're loud as fuck. There we go.
Sounds all good. Okay. Yeah, ACRO, I don't know if you've updated your mic in Discord to be your good mic. And he's gone.
Now it really fucked it up. It better put you back on the other side when he comes in. It's gonna be fucked.
These things happen. They are bound to happen when you try to do a little event.
Yeah. True. True that.
Bye.
Let's find the
Bye.
picture. Let's find the picture. That's not it. Let's view large icons. Okay.
Luigi.
Luigi. Yeah, that's a solid. It's so good, dude.
I'm so. You just like do that on your phone, or Ari just did it on his phone.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's pretty funny. He did it so quickly. Because at first he sent me the one without your face, then he added your face to it.
Hello? Is it better now?
Oh, way better. Jesus Christ.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. You didn't tell me earlier. Dang
I
it.
don't know. I thought it was fuck. Right.
Yeah, I could have noticed. That's
everybody's good.
It's all good. Yeah.
Everybody sounds great.
Yeah, I had
Sick.
to change my default device, so I think we're good.
All right. All right. We are
Introduce me, Dad.
This is ACRO, IRL, 1D, Daiyabolic, Ari, the Gaines daddy.
Father of many names.
Yeah.
All the names.
Father of many. Yeah, this guy.
Yeah. Hi, guys.
We all know him as the father of Twitch. Sorta, kinda. Yeah. And next to him, we have our champion, Mr. CoelRunnings.
Hello.
You know, I really wish I had a soundboard now. We are the champion. Oh well, missed opportunities.
I mean, I do have a soundboard, but I don't know if anyone wants to hear what's on here right now. Yeah. Hi everyone. Joe, CoelRunnings. Pronouns he, him, and recent victor of the open class in the Michigan OCB. Sorry, I did that wrong. Debut class, the Michigan OCB bodybuilding comp 2024, and second in my division in open class. There we go.
Which we will get to, but
you get nothing. You lose. Good day, sir.
Could have been first. Could have been first.
I hope that wasn't too loud.
That was great. That was great.
Yeah.
All right. So the point of today's stream is to recap this show, and this was like a labor of love. There was a bunch of us from this thing we call APE, which is the Aesthetic Physique Enthusiasts. We kind of come together and hang out, and it's not about like competition necessarily, but that's a part of it. If you want to compete, you know, we have a lot of people who have some expertise in that world. So, you know, aside from that, you know, we do a lot of other things like getting people to transform their bodies, and you know, it's really just about an aesthetic. You know, what are you looking for to look a certain way in life, and that's kind of what we do there. And a lot of us are into bodybuilding, and Joe kind of jumped into it, and we all kind of agreed that we were just gonna team up and help him out with this show thing. So we're really happy with how it turned out, and you're very adherent, so it was like really fun to just be like, here, this is what you probably should do, and you're like, I'm gonna do it 100%. So I mean, it showed. But
and he did.
I think sure did. I think one of the things that to get into it initially is like your decision making for doing a show. I think like us on Twitch, the people in health and fitness, like handful of us, you know, we all know, like maybe wanted to do a show. You know, Daiyabolic did a show. I did a show way back in the day.
2 shows.
And 2 shows, yeah, 2 shows. We only count 1 though.
We only count that one. We only count that one.
I'm curious to know like how your decision making and like what kind of got you to that point. Like where were your influences? You know, kind of talk us through that.
Yeah, there were a lot of different pieces, and I think the ultimate decision kind of happened between December and January. This past December and January, where there was just like I had finished another marathon or a half marathon. I can't remember what I did last fall, and was just trying to spend a little bit of time like running and getting faster, and also trying to keep up with the lifting, and just I don't know. I was just enjoying training, and I think something that I was doing in my programming just kind of clicked a little bit, and I started to see some aesthetic changes that were a little bit more of what I was expecting if I had put more like time, energy, and attention into my nutrition along with my lifting. Because I've been lifting for, you know, over 10 years, like more seriously in the last like 5 or 6. And like we kind of joked since I started on Twitch 3 years ago that, you know, like maybe haha bodybuilding show, teehee. And when we started to do some of the posing seminars back a year and a half ago, 2 years ago at this point.
Almost 2 years now, yeah.
Yeah, almost 2 years ago at this point. And you know, I was just interested in like trying it out and flexing. Like just I only saw it as flexing, and it always felt very awkward to me. And I really wanted that to not feel awkward, and to be something where, all right, I put a lot of work into, you know, my physique, and I put a lot of time into this sport, and like how do I actually make it so that I can, you know, appear the way that I think I may have the capacity to appear. So like there was this kind of lead up through Twitch, and a lot of people in the community saying, hey, you can do it. Practice posing, saying like, hey, like maybe this would look a little better if you put a little more time into it. But also admittedly, like just over the last however many years, it's always been kind of like in the back of my brain of, you know, maybe that's something you could do someday. Because I think I told you guys right on the day of the show that I had an uncle who did some bodybuilding shows, and
yes,
he took gear, and he was big, and you know, I still can't find any of his pictures, and I'm actually waiting to hear from him to see if I can get some of his old shots. But you know, it not to say that it runs in the family, because he's literally the only one in my family that ever did anything like it, but there was something there. So
it just kind of intrigued you, and you're like, I guess we're just jumping in now. Do you think the community, it was like, I mean, between like the Holder Heck kind of like gassing you up, being like, I remember you guys like posing during your collab streams, and like, you know, him flexing, be like, God, you're built for this. Like, I feel like there was a part of that, like, it really gassed you up to be like, man, I really should just do this. And obviously, like, we all gas you up, you know, because we all think you're capable.
And speaking of that beginning awkwardness for you, you mentioned, you know, when you first, for that one showcase that we did for, I don't know, it's like was that October? This last October, right?
The showcase? Or are you talking about the posing stream?
The showcase where we all
because we have video of Joe doing both.
Yeah, we want to see.
If you want to see his very first posing, I don't know if Jason can pull it up, but we actually have the very first posing seminar we did with like 12 of us from Twitch. I think like at the 56-minute mark and like the hour 20-minute mark, you should be able to see like a few of his poses and like kind of his awkwardness. But realistically, it's honestly, it's like for those of you who are out there who might be watching this, thinking about maybe doing a show or something, everyone goes through that, you know, everyone goes through that phase, and it's really just about practice. You know, once you get it down, I mean, when Joe was on stage, and we'll show this in a little while, he nailed it, you know, he really nailed it. Not this one. This is the This is the one he did with Beowulf. So this is one that he actually was improved.
There it is.
It's the one where we
So the side relax.
we all posed together,
than the first
Jason.
So this is it this one? The other one?
Yep.
Oh, that's different. We'll get to that.
It's gonna be called a long name. I didn't actually title. I'm sorry. I'm a noob.
Yeah, because that was from a while back.
It's gonna be one of the recent uploads.
The recent uploads.
Yeah, if you just go by time uploaded, you can actually sift by.
No, that's the only one I got. I think that's the only one that came through. Was the one with Beowulf. Yeah, I have the after shot. I've got this one.
Oh, maybe it didn't come through. I can put it on mine. I don't know if you could show my screen.
Yeah, hold on.
Okay,
Let's
yeah, I'll
see.
pull it up. Actually, because I think this is actually a pretty good. Honestly, we could just show. Can you show him the CoelRunnings after? Can you do that one? All right, do that one. That one actually is a pretty good one. So this is from our first showcase, yeah. And this is a pretty good indicator because it was shortly after that posing stream, which is fine.
God, I want to rip this apart.
I mean, obviously, we've already been through it.
It's so hard to watch.
Yeah, I mean, it has to.
It is. It is.
This, right?
I look back at some of my old posing stuff, and I want to throw my phone against the wall.
But it's funny. You look at this and you think like you were saying earlier, it's just flexing, and it's like you see what these guys are kind of doing, and you're like, well, I'll just put my own spin on it, or I'll just try it out. But then when you get in the technicals of posing, and we'll get into this a little later, it becomes like once you know it and you start getting it like in your head, and you
then
see
you
this
start
now, you're
seeing
like, oh
it.
man, like that's really weird. I think all of us have gone through this, but like I think just what I'm trying to point out is improvements come quickly, actually, just with practice. So like, I mean, you looked insane here too. I mean, you weren't lean, you were pretty close, but you looked pretty insane.
Pretty lean.
But when we saw this, when Jason and I and other people saw this, we were like, man, just change his poses. And I think he could like do really well. And obviously that's why we're here. But yeah, I'm like really proud of you and the amount of improvement you made like from here to there. I guess like talking about the posing, but we should talk about like some of your just general progress. So I know we have the transformation photos. We should kind of show where you started, and maybe we should talk about kind of the stats, like where you started as far as like weight, because I think that's relevant. A lot of people kind of want to know what that looks like.
Yeah.
And I also want to know like how you feel about like general conditioning, getting down to that level of leanness, and like maybe your fears of not being lean enough, which obviously we know now it's like probably too lean. And just kind of walk us through that mentality, because I mean, I was even telling you, and I'll tell you this right now, like I was kind of getting in your head saying like, oh, even if you don't make the like 1 or 2% lean enough, don't worry about it, because I didn't want you to focus on that. I wanted you to focus on like just posing and being there. Whatever happens, right? You're already at the end. So, but I want to hear your thoughts on the transformation process, and then the getting that shredded process.
Yeah. So it's worth pointing out, so my progression was kind of in that winter beforehand. I had planned a 16-week bulk because it was like this. We did the transformation challenge the summer before, and that was leading up to TwitchCon, where I was I think I landed right around like 173, 174. And I had planned to bulk up to 190 pounds over that winter. And so I started my bulk, and I think it went just about as well as it could have. I mean, there were a couple of weeks where I plateaued, but I was pretty consistently putting, like a pound a week on over the course of that 16-ish weeks. And right around where the first photo that I shared in Discord, right around January 24 was when, I took these photos and I was like, okay, this is where I'm going to try to, turn the ship around. And
Can you pull those up, Jason?
Yeah, this is gonna look weird on stream. But...
because Discord is...
Well, if you right click
over
on
here.
it and just say open, you could say open in a new window.
Oh, the chat?
Yeah, it's in chat. Just say open in browser.
And maybe what I can do is I can grab all these and put them in... I should have put them in our folder. That's what I should have done.
all right. I think it'll be good for people to see kind of like
Can't,
where you started.
but I can't scroll through them if I open in browser.
Okay. Let me see.
You know, we didn't think this through very well.
No, that's okay. We can always edit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna pull
In
up the folder.
hindsight,
He's probably gonna drop them in the folder.
okay, in the Google Drive thing.
I think so.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's okay. But he's gonna pull up the transformation photo so you guys can kind of see exactly where he started after his like his bulk, you know, and then kind of like we'll go through the months of him kind of leaning out, and it's kind of interesting because like when people see like people who are getting leaner and they get stage lean, it is like a next level evolution because you're like, oh, they're pretty lean, like they look like they get on stage right now. Lo and behold, 8 weeks later, they're diced, and you're like, I didn't even think they could get that lean. So I think like some people might see Joe and like think that, and to be fair, like we'll talk about later, you know, he probably could have stopped at some point and been like perfectly good for a stage, but just him getting as lean as he did to get on stage the way he did, like it is actually a feat. It is so difficult to do that. And we will point out, and there's no shade to other competitors. When we bring up other competitors, you'll notice the difference in leanness that he brought. So like big like props to you, dude, because that is an insane amount of conditioning you bring your first time.
Thanks, dude. Yeah, I felt it, and once we start going through photos, I think it's gonna be a little more clear of like where I kind of hit that stopping point. But yeah, I mean the starting point for me was at 100, somewhere between 186 and 184 pounds.
Did these come through?
I had to give him editor. I think he has editor now.
Cool. Usually it takes
Stand by a sec, guys.
Yeah, only
Out.
the after and the Beowulf one came through. For you.
Interesting. Yeah, I left when I uploaded them. Sorry, we're kind of, you know.
We're a mess.
Yeah.
We're a
working through it, guys.
goddamn mess.
We're working through it. Everyone comment.
just blame prep brain.
Yeah.
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 I'm totally in prep.
It's not updating permissions.
Wish I could just open two different. Can't I open chat in a different fucking view? Maybe not.
I'm gonna try something. I'm gonna
I
go
can
back
pop.
to the folder.
Okay, hold on. I got something. I can do it. Now I can do it. This. I can pop out. Oh my god.
Yeah,
I don't
now
think I
our
can
faces
do
are
that.
gone.
Yeah. I don't think that works.
We don't need to be there. What a mess this is.
This is a mess. I'll fix it. Don't
Okay,
worry.
I have access now. So
He's gonna
Please
upload
hold.
them. Yeah, just hold on, guys. It's all good. We had photos in the Discord chat, and the way Jason has the way Daiyabolic has the Discord set up is on his OBS. So every time he closes it, it just
Right. I got
collapses it and destroys it. So
it. I'm a fucking idiot.
no, it's all good. We didn't think it through. Only a post show review. Yeah. And this is just the beginning part. Once we
Joe's
get
gonna
into,
have
like, we
to.
already-
Joe's
we
gonna
already
have to
the-
scoot to the left a little bit. But
It's all right.
go to the left. It's just like being back on stage.
Big Bad Leo TV. Yeah, so we'll get into that. That's actually a couple questions for once we get into this show. So we'll get into like the show and the prep and like his workout and stuff like that. Right now, we're just gonna go through like just how he got into it, what he looked like, the process of cutting down, and then we're gonna move into like peak week and then the actual show day. And the show day is gonna take up more time. So this is actually like
okay,
this
so
should be
this
fairly
was
quick.
this was 186. You said.
Yes. Yeah. So it's 186 or 184. I think just the way my my little graph played out, it was kind of hard to tell looking back. But that was about the point where I decided that it was time to start the actual prep. Initially, I had planned to do a 16-week prep, and after talking to, I think, you guys and also to Lou, just about like having a little more leeway, having a little more space for a first prep, and just all the other variables kind of involved with that, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna, instead of continuing to bulk to the spot that I thought that I wanted to, I'm just gonna hit maintenance for a couple of weeks, and I'm gonna start doing a cut, because I didn't want to go straight from bulking into cutting, because it just would have been such a huge change in intake, and also, like, as unscientific as it is, like, I wanted time for those gains to set in, and have the little bit of benefit of getting that. So
right.
What I actually ended up doing was starting my deficit at that point, because I didn't set up my macros and intake correctly. So where I thought I was going to do a 20-week prep, sort of, I ended up doing a 20-week prep, sort of, but it wasn't on purpose in a certain way of thinking. So yeah, that was kind of my starting point, coming fresh off of a bulk. And I think, I have it sitting around here somewhere, the DEXA that I did, where I was on stream and I was like, I ate a bowl of cereal before I went in and did my DEXA, and
it was like 11% or something.
Yeah. Hang on.
Actually, that was something that was actually my wife brought up. She's like, "Hey, did he get a second DEXA?" And I was like, I think he went and it was closed, but I wasn't sure if you went again.
It was closed the second time he tried to go get it.
Yeah.
I know that.
Yeah, the place that it's like a local university that does them, and they just have modified summer hours, and they completely ghosted me. It was really weird, and especially because when I initially set up the appointment for the first one, they had told me that, like, yeah, you'll be able to get another one on this date. So I didn't really think twice about it when I was trying to get it set up. But yeah, I mean, for anyone who missed it, the like DEXA story is that I went in looking somewhat like this, and they told me that I was like 11.7% on my DEXA, and everyone was being very kind to be like, yeah, I don't think that you're at 11.7%.
No.
The number is, I think, to reiterate, the number itself, I know it sounds cool, but it's so hard to accurately like figure out exactly what your body fat level is. I mean, it gets close, but I think that the thing is, like, just to see the difference, just to see how much you've changed is very cool. And I think just having the two numbers is like a cool indicator, but it's not like the end all be all, like, these are what I was. Like, no one's measuring body fat on a stage, right? So
no.
I mean,
I think a lot of people get in that mindset too.
It is very hard to, like, you run a lot, so you just have extra inflammation all the time in your legs, which did end up becoming an issue later on in prep, where we had to have a come to Jesus and say, look,
we'll talk about that. Yeah.
But
running isn't bad for bodybuilding. What are you talking about?
Nah,
I think in your head you were like, I could do this. I could just run straight through prep. I'll be perfect. And then we're like,
100%.
Yeah. It was funny too, because we'll get into it, but I told Jason, I was like, hey, who's going to tell him to stop running? He's like, I'll tell him. I was like, all right.
I was like, I'll be the bad guy.
I have like text. I'm texting him. Like, who's going to tell him? I was like, I don't want to tell him. I want to break his heart. But
because we just kept looking at your legs and just be like, why is his legs not coming through? Like, it doesn't make any sense. And he was like, I think it's the running. Yeah. I'm pretty sure he's just super inflamed from all the running he's doing. And I'm like, we gotta tell him.
Yeah.
Someone's got to break it to him.
Yeah, but aside from that, like, going down and actually cranking down your weight, I know you had like a few sticking points where you were a little concerned, or you were concerned you were too ahead, right? I think you were concerned you were like losing too quickly. Which, looking back, like, it's true. So I think you did take a break, right? A little bit of a break, which is beneficial, and we talk about this quite a bit. When you need it, and you do it. It's just about being on track that last month and giving yourself leeway to do practice peaking protocols. So I don't know what we're missing as far as the transformation. I don't know if you want to go through a couple more of those, Jason, before we move on to like the diet breaks and all that stuff.
Yeah, so there we go. The folder I just dropped into Google should be updated with all the rest of the transformation photos. So the one that folks are seeing now is so the first one was January 24th, and this is April 4th. So, you know, I think I have some midway shots that are kind of in between these two, kind of buried in a folder. Like, the amount of photos, I have never taken so many pictures of myself as I did during this prep. And like,
You have to.
I have, yeah, like I had this, like, I was emptying my phone monthly into a big old hard drive to just like dump all these photos and get them kind of kept in one spot. So it's all there, right? But it was yeah, so I think this was around the point where so this was what, April 4th?
I mean, here,
that is.
This looks around 17-ish, 16, 17%. And now with relaxed abdomen here and more serratus coming through, this looks to be 14.
Yeah, 13,
I mean,
14. Yeah, whatever it is.
You don't hold a lot of fat beneath your armpits, which, like, your serratus are insane. I mean, even here, they're gigantic. It's nuts. It's absolutely nuts.
Good just, genetic bit. Yeah.
Just archangel wings just coming out of, just surrounding your lats.
Speaking of coming down on body fat, what were like your staple foods, you would say? Like, what were you gravitating toward? Because, you know, the way we do it, it's like mostly macros, you know, and tracking your sodium a bit, but it's mostly just macros. But tell us a little bit about like your food choices.
Yeah, so I had like basically 2 breakfasts that I leaned on. It was like I had this rotation of meals, and I think that really kind of helped. Initially, it was oats every day for breakfast, like oats with PB Fit and whey and like a little bit of fruit. As I progressed, I opened up to doing a little bit more, like honey nut Cheerios for some reason was like such a like such an anchor for me, because every morning, you know, you wake up with this feeling, and I think this kind of goes into the psychology thing. Like you eventually get to this point where you wake up with this feeling of like, this is never going to be over. I'm never going to get out of this. Like, here is another day where I'm going to count every single piece of morsel that goes into my body, and I'm going to be like fixated on this goal. But for some reason, like putting peanut butter powder in a vanilla whey protein shake and using that as the milk for my cereal, just like put a little spring in my step every morning. It's like, I don't know what it was about it, but just like having like cereal and berries and like a high protein breakfast, I think was just huge for me. So that's breakfast. Snacks, when I started off, I think I was not doing a really great job with snacking. I was hitting like my old approach when I wasn't really counting and I was just cutting is I would say like, okay, like on a maintenance or on a bulk, I would eat peanut butter toast as a snack around 10 a.m., 11 a.m. And when I was cutting, I would just switch that to like an apple with a little bit of peanut butter. When I was doing that, it wasn't enough fiber, it wasn't enough calories early in the morning. So like I started shifting to like, I started getting English muffins that are just like this perfect little pile of carbs that's low fat. So I ate a butt ton of English muffins during prep. Like sometimes, you know, 2, maybe 3 a day, but I guess that goes to the thing about my intake levels, and we'll talk about that. Like instant noodles that were not ramen for lunches, along with chicken thighs and just like boatloads of vegetables. The deeper I got in, the more I was adding just larger volumes of veggies to my meals, because it just helped me feel like I was getting to eat more, and like the volume was high, but the calories were low. The fiber was high. Like fiber ended up being a pretty big fixation for me, going from like 10 to 15 grams of fiber per day in the start of my prep to like now, like at the end, and even now I'm closer to 30, 40, 50 grams of fiber every day. And yeah, that makes a difference too. Like you have this turning point where like, not to, you know, be too gross about it.
No, we really should talk about it, because I was going to mention it.
Yeah,
DMs are really important on prep.
Yeah.
Like they really are.
They need to be the same time every day, or you start to panic, because you're like, this isn't gonna, I can't be accurate if it's like 2 hours I haven't pooped, and normally it's like you poo 2 hours later. That messes everything up.
Oh yeah, or when like it's just you know, like the consistency of such is unpleasant. It's like I don't have a lot of big pleasures happening in life right now, and if my poops aren't good, like what do I even have, right?
What do I live for?
What do I live for?
Yeah.
But I think your approach was like appropriate, and no one really had to tell you it. I think you kind of intuitively know is like volumize, right? Like low calorie, more volume, fiber, and it keeps you basically regular. Because I think just going back to like my own preps, you know, it's like I wasn't getting a ton of fiber, and I noticed, you know what I mean? And it just ruins you for like a week. And it's like, I got to do something different. And it takes a while to like rebound from that. So the fact you're able to do it early on and keep yourself like on that schedule is like huge, you know? And I think people like disregard that in a prep for real.
And
and it can help with like staying full too. Sorry, go ahead, Jason.
I'm pretty lazy on prep when it comes to certain things. So, like, you were good on you for eating a ton of vegetables. I don't want to make the vegetables, so it's like sometimes I would do green beans out of a can. But most of the time, when I discovered the carb balance tortillas,
They're kind of a hack.
I completely stopped eating vegetables. I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna have 2 of these, and that's 30 grams of fiber. I'm good. So I still rarely eat vegetables. I'm just like, the only time I ever get vegetables is at night because the wife is like, we have to have a vegetable with our thing. I'm like, if you say so. But for the most part, I live off these carb balanced tortillas. It's like, oh, I haven't had any fiber today. Let's pound one of these. I'm good.
Yeah, and like one of my goals early on that I talked about with my wife Lauren was I really wanted it as much as possible to feel like a normal thing for her. And to not be like, I'm in prep, so like here's all the way that life is going to change, right? Like I knew I was going to be a little more focused on it. I knew that there were going to be, you know, and like you guys were really helpful with this of just setting the expectation early on that once we get into that last month, that last 6 weeks, like I'm just gonna have to say no to some stuff and like be a little more selfish with my time and say occasionally like you should definitely go do that and like have fun with these people. Like I can't put myself in that environment right now, and I'm not gonna be. I think what I said to her at one point was like, I don't feel like I'm a very fun person to spend time with right now. So like please go ahead, right? But part of that was food, and I did a lot of front loading of my diet in the day, and sometimes that led to me feeling a little bit fatigued in the afternoon of like really kind of squeezing my calories early on, and then in the evenings like being able to have a larger dinner or have a dinner that was more like what we would normally have it, you know, in the off season. I think really helped me feel more like it was not necessarily just super restrictive, and I think it helped her too to kind of get through that without having to feel like, oh man, like here's another, you know, chicken and rice meal, like I guess I'll go do something else, or, you know, I don't know. I don't want to project too much on how she experienced that.
We should actually talk about, since we're discussing this, we should talk about the elephant in the room, which is Joe had unusually high macros and calories to work with. Now, this is funny coming from him saying I didn't have a lot.
I didn't have a lot to eat.
For me, I could literally eat on a bulk what he was eating during his last week of the cut. So
I'm currently bulking.
Real.
Like I'm currently in a surplus and eating barely more than he was eating his last week. Or you were eating what 20? You were at 2,700 your last week.
2,700.
Yeah,
it's 2,700 calories.
I'm at 29. I'm at 2950 right now, and
so
I'm
everyone's
gaining,
different.
Like, but it's like, you know, in my last week of prep, my last prep, I went as low as 2,200, but I also did way more cardio than my first prep because my first prep I went as low as 1,900, which that's not a lot of food. And I said, but I also barely did any cardio. So the second prep, I was like, I would much rather do the cardio and have a little bit more food, and prep was a bit more enjoyable the second time.
And that's exactly what happened with Joe. Joe's a runner, wanted to keep that up, but also you kept your step count up. What, you were at like 20K a day?
Yeah, 20K a day near the end.
So let's talk us through like your cardio schedule up until you stopped running, and let's kind of go through that because I think that's another thing. Like the food is kind of important. Obviously, it's really important, but I think the level of activity you were doing is kind of unusual. So let's talk through that a little bit.
Yeah. So up until I guess the initial thing, and I have my plan kind of pulled up here of what I had initially plotted out. I was already doing a fair amount of running. I was running 2 to 3 times a week on average. I would have a slow run and then potentially like speed work or, you know, a longer run in there somewhere. But since I wasn't actually training for a race, I wasn't doing the like long runs on weekends. Because kind of an aside, what I've found over the years is that is really the thing that messes me up and puts me in the place of like feeling like I'm broken all the time, is trying to fit long runs into my schedule. But all that, like, I think around that time I was running 2 to 3 times a week, averaging like 10 to 12K steps per day on my off running days. And when we were starting to get a little bit deeper into things, and I started to realize that running wasn't going to be something I could continue. And also we were, you know, just saying like, hey, like, you're probably going to have to stop doing this. My mindset shifted in a way from, I'm just going to like try to get moving a little bit and like keep myself reasonably active, to, well, that's something that I was doing consistently that I am dropping out on. And I want to talk about this in the right way, because I feel like it did sort of bend into disordered eating and disordered behaviors, where I was saying like, I am trying to be as active as possible at all times of day. Like, I'm trying to make sure that I'm standing at my desk more, like I'm standing right now, standing at my desk more, I'm walking more, I'm taking more opportunities to take breaks and take the dog around the block. When I was doing chores, it was like, you know, the goal was not to save time. The goal was to make anything that I was doing slightly more calorie burning. And I think that that's where a lot of the mental exhaustion came through with prep, was this like, Macro Factor is a really great app. It has a really great approach to helping people calculate like what their intake is and what their output is and all this stuff. Their algorithm's great. But because of the fact that it does kind of use that algorithm to base what you should be doing on what it expects you to do, in the back of my mind was like, if I don't do what this app expects, I'm going to fail. And like, if I don't keep up with what is essentially similar to what I was doing activity-wise, it's not going to work. I'm not going to lose weight. And I did have those days, and you know, Daya, we can talk about this, of like, when we started to plan around this, and like, you just didn't know what my typical like movement was, right? And so you set me some macros, and I started doing it, and it felt good for a couple of days. And then I realized after a couple of days, I'm like, oh, I feel so bad. like what am I doing? Yeah. And it was still like a lot of calories. It was 2,400 calories you put me on, that like with a really good amount of protein, and for some reason like that still just wasn't enough. But
yeah, that's I mean, that's why I said it's like, you know, we can, you know, I'm not really sure what your activity level, a lot of people overestimate their activity level, not that you know, I don't see what you're doing. It's like I really only see your life on stream. So it's like, okay, yeah, he is active, I know he likes to run, he's going to continue to run. TDEE is saying this. Let's start off at 24. That's why I said let's do this for a week, see how you feel. Yeah. And you're like, this is nope, nope.
Yeah, and like it was the first couple of days. I was like, I can do this. This ain't so bad. And then just suddenly, like,
I don't even think it was a week, but by like day 4, it was like this seems something is way off. I was like, it probably is. I was like, let me see the numbers. Like, yeah, the numbers were way too drastic. I was like, okay, let's fix this right now.
Yeah,
we bumped it up by a lot.
Yeah, and one of the things that was helpful, I think, in like keeping that activity high was the morning walks. Like, I talked to B-Wolf about this at one point, that when he was really trying to manage the mental side of his prep and like just all the, you know, hormone stuff and emotional stuff, that doing like 20 to 30 minutes of walking in the morning, like probably like outside, I think was what he was going for, was just really helpful for him to clear his head and feel good. And I got this walking treadmill here, and even though like the weather was not really conducive to it, I just started doing that like every day that I wasn't getting up and lifting right away. Yeah. And it helped. Like, I would find like I went through this whole like search to find the right mount for my phone, and that could also hold a Nintendo Switch, so that I could set a Switch up in front of myself and like do 20-30 minute walks that wouldn't necessarily put too much fatigue on me, but you know, would not only help me feel like I was moving, but also just like get more steps in. So yeah, I mean, it was something that as I got deeper in, I just kept saying, I'll just move a little bit more. Like, oh, I hit 18K steps. Like, I'll just try for 20. I'll try for 20 this week and see how it feels. And it became kind of a compulsive behavior that I wasn't super proud of at a certain point. But yeah, go ahead.
So I think there's something to this. We talked about the psychology a little earlier, and maybe we can get into that a little bit right now, since we've kind of we're going to talk about the workout, but we talked about the diet, the transformation. You were kind of setting yourself up mentally to know what this is, and we warned you a few times about like what this could be, what it could turn into. I'm curious, like, if you realized even those compulsive things that pop up, being who you are, was going to be an issue. Maybe you didn't realize that, and now that you've seen it, it's like, okay, if I do another one, this is really what it is. Not necessarily like I'm going to be thinking about what is going to happen on the show day, but you're thinking about what's happening in the minutia every few seconds, you know, and it becomes a lot, right? So talk me through that, your initial thoughts, and how it modified and changed over time to where you are now, how you feel about it.
Yeah, I think initially I just expected to be hangry. Like, I just thought that it would be a diet fatigue thing, and that at a certain point when my body fat got low enough that I would just be kind of like the hormone stuff that happens where you just start to get like a little more of a short fuse, so to speak. That's the kind of stuff that I was expecting. Knowing that I had engaged in disordered eating in the past, like, you know, I won't go into my full journey with that, but I had really gotten to a point where I could get what I needed without tracking food all the time. So I think as I was going along, it was the thought that I need to continue tracking my food, and that is going to be, it was probably when I was 14 to 13 weeks out, where I was looking at the date and I was like, this is gonna mess me up, right? Like this is gonna put me back in a place that I thought I was, that I thought I had moved past. And you know, I thought I had my relationship with food worked out, and I think I had a little bit of like loss of hope a couple of times throughout, of like, you know, by the time this is over, I don't know that I'm going to be able to walk this back, or if I do, like how long is it going to take me to walk this back? So I mean, that was kind of the introductory feeling, and then how I was feeling throughout, and just that, you know, to the point of like compulsive behaviors, it was, I spent so much time thinking about food, so much time preparing food. One of the genuinely funny things that Jason told me about was, you're gonna walk into the grocery store and you're just gonna walk around, you're gonna look at stuff, and you're gonna be like, I can have that right now. Or like, I should buy that for when prep is over, when you're done, and I can have that. And it's literally like 3 months away. Like there's no oh yeah no reason for me to put that in my home.
I mean, did you, but here's the thing, did you ever actually purchase anything with the intent of doing it 3 months down the road, or 2 months down the road, 4 weeks later?
There were a couple of things, yeah. So
like I'm not allowed to go shopping anymore on prep. That is like a rule I made. Like if I'm 6 weeks out and I have to go to the grocery store because the wife can't do it, and like I need what I need, I have to mentally prepare myself to walk into the grocery store and quite possibly leave with $300 worth of stuff I have no intention of fucking eating. Yeah. It's a problem. It's a huge problem. Yeah. It's like, I could just like, this stuff's great. Like I had snacks. I had snacks in my house that I had purchased while on prep that I didn't end up finishing for almost a year later.
Because by the time you get off, you're like, you're dieting off, and it's like,
and it doesn't matter anymore. And I'm like, well, I'm not trying to get these things. I was like, I have them now. I was like, I don't have to eat this, because it's not even like they were bad. It was like you could definitely eat them on prep, like near the beginning of prep, but it was like, I don't want to eat these now. It's like, I would much
Yeah,
rather
no.
have a regular thing than this
It's a
thing.
dangerous game you're playing. You know, we tell people all the time, even when they're not prep, they're just dieting. Like, keep this shit out of your house. You're over here like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna afford this.
Which is why, like people, like I would get on stream some nights and just scroll like food porn Instagram webs, like
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just saying that.
accounts.
Like, you go. I remember, like, you'd be like 2
And
months
it
out,
would be
and
great.
you're like scrolling.
I just like,
like-
this looks so good. I was like, I was like, I
hitting
know I
that
can't eat it.
weird
I know
little
I can't
pleasure
have it.
center in your brain. Yeah.
I just want, but I want to look at it. I just want to look.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, I've got a box of frozen fried pickles in my freezer right now that has been in there for far too long.
You're
Like,
never
for
eating
some
those.
reason,
You're
like
never
one
eating
day
those.
it was the frickles. I could not turn them down. But I was doing the same thing with Instagram. Like my algorithm, both for Instagram and Facebook,
it would get fucked.
Oh, it was so, like, it 100% latched onto the fact that I would see some, like, ooey gooey chocolate oat bake, like yogurt peanut butter. Like, I didn't even have to like it. It's just like, oh,
You're just
Don't even
on
look
it
at
for
the-
longer. Yeah.
Don't even look
yeah.
at the comments.
Yeah.
Looking at the comments,
Yeah.
just looking at it for longer than 10 seconds. It's like, oh, we're gonna get him. We're gonna get
So
him.
now that you experience those things, right, and now you've seen it at the end, let's just talk about like the very end of it, because like obviously we'll go through peak week. And
Definitely, let's talk
but
about the end, because I even noticed some things.
there are some things where you were like, it's like just eat, but I think you still had that even
You
in the
still had
even
it.
early on. You thought like, I'm just going to defeat this, but at the end, I mean, the last week, you even know it's like
The day of,
It's-
after the
yeah.
show, even it was
Yeah,
like
talk us through that. I don't know if this is gonna be emotional for you, but I want to hear like how you really feel about it and what you're feeling now. You know, seeing what you were doing like during the barbecue, right?
Yeah, it was like
Yeah.
the barbecue
Yeah.
thing was nuts, because I was like, eat. What are you doing? Eat. Just like, I don't give a fuck if you eat everything on this table. Do it.
yeah, no, I mean,
Get it out of your system now.
yeah. So that last 2 weeks, like when I saw that I was that close, there was nothing that would have made me break my diet. Like I was part of it is that at that 2-3 week check-in that we had that conversation about I don't feel like I'm there. Like, I feel like I should have done something different. I am going to start crying. Like, I don't feel like I'm there. I don't feel like I'm going to make it. I'm not going to get as lean as I thought I was going to. And I had, like, upped my cardio a little bit. Like, I wanted to really make sure that everything was consistent. I was like, if there is a, like, 2% chance difference I can make, like, it's going to happen right now. And, like, I'm not going to crash, right? I'm not going to start eating, like, 800 calories a day.
Right.
I'm still going to get towards my targets, but, like, it's going to be clean and I'm going to be locked in on it. And I was really fortunate. We have some friends who we like meet with weekly to this is again tangent, but we meet with them weekly to play board games. And as I was getting closer to prep, you know, they're moving away to another state, so we've been trying to just spend more time with them. And like the couple of times that we got together in that final stretch, they were just so supportive and being like, what are things you can eat, and like what can we make, because we would, you know, alternate making dinner for one another. Like, what can we make for you? Like, we like, here's some rice and veggies, and like here's also some salad if you can't have carbs right now. Like, you know, like super duper supportive. And that last 2 weeks I was just completely dialed in. And I'm pretty sure like there could have been moments where I was preparing food and like doing things around food where if my wife would have walked in the kitchen and like asked me a question, like I probably just like missed it, you know, because of the brain fog and because of the hyper focus. But yeah. And then the peak week, you know, we kind of started talking about peak week, but the fact that I
we
had
can
a
get into
practice,
it.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about it now, or do you want me to hold off?
All right, so let's talk about the practice peak week and what a peak week is, and I'll let Jason kind of talk about what peaking is, and then after we talk about peak week and you getting through it, I kind of want to talk about the barbecue day.
Yeah.
But I also want to go in and go backtrack a little bit and talk about your workout. All right,
Yeah.
and so let's get through the workout, and then we'll thank like all of our friends who helped, and then let's get into the show, because we shouldn't let this last 4 hours long. I hope.
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
Oh, but it could.
So talk us through what peaking is real quick, Jason, and then we'll
A peak week is usually your last 7 days before the show, And the whole goal is, depending on how you went about your prep, is to get down to complete depletion of all the glycogen stores within your body, and then right before the show, build them back up again, so that everything very quickly. So not you completely deplete and then you build it up really, really quickly, so everything just looks hard and tight and completely full. And you usually do that with carb manipulation. You can do that with water and sodium. Usually naturals don't have to do any water manipulation, just because they're, there's really no need. They're not big enough, or they're just also not taking a bunch of insane drugs that require them
not
to
using insulin and stuff like that.
Yeah, they're not holding water from extra exogenous exogenous compounds that they're injecting into their bodies constantly. So, no diuretics, nothing like that. So there's not usually a lot of water manipulation, and if it is, it's very, very minimal, where, you're
like last day.
Yeah, the very last day, just to kind of sip as needed kind of deal, just so you're not. But for the most part, naturals can tend to just drink water as usual, and then just manipulate their sodium, their potassium, and their carbohydrates.
So we did a practice peak for Joe, because he's never done one before, and it was like a haphazard one. He kind of went into it and just kind of see how his body would do, depleting some glycogen and then introducing it. We had some photos, and I think you did it like 3 weeks out, or maybe 4 weeks out.
No,
and you look pretty good. And in my opinion, just looking back at the photos, like, you got lean enough to where, like, you could have kept carbs probably the same.
That one, yeah.
And like the really peaking for a lot of people is like people who don't get shredded enough. For you, it was just like an extra step for you to go through it. But realistically, you could have been like just slightly lower carb, increase it a bit at the end just to fill out, but you didn't have to go crazy. And for that mock peak week, walk us through like your initial feeling of it, and then we'll talk about your actual peak week and like how you felt about it.
Yeah, so when we were starting to talk about it, my initial thought was like, hell yeah, let's go for it. This is the time, right? Like, we're 3 weeks out. If I'm gonna do it, I should probably do it now, so that I have enough time to recover a little bit before the show, and then really do a final diet push if I need to. And I got cold feet right before we started doing it. I started to, like, y'all were really great about talking me through what the procedures were, and as I was laying out what that diet would look like, and thinking about what I was really afraid that my training would suffer. And like that was kind of the weird thing that I went back and forth on, was knowing that I was going to be cutting out those carbs, and in a period where I was afraid of the natty muscle loss that could happen, and the drop in energy that could have affected how I showed up on show day. Because, like in running, if you've heard me talk about how I do a taper approach, like, my tapers are 3 weeks long. Most runners do 2-week tapers, because, like, I just know, like, that training that comes in that last 3 to 4 weeks is like, it can matter, but like, ultimately, if you're not ready by that point, it's not gonna. So I should have known that, right? That the actual lifting wouldn't have been that impactful. But yeah, just like laid it all out. I mean, I have my my macros pulled up, and it was the first day normal. And again, this is like really high intake for just about anyone, but first day normal with 300 grams of carbs, 210 grams of protein, and 80 grams of fats. And then the next day jumping straight onto keto with 50 grams of carbs, 200 grams of protein, and 200 grams of fats. And the idea of eating 200 grams of fat during a day was so strange. So
fun,
weird.
though.
We should talk about it. So it's basically to keep your calories the same, but also like you're replenishing like the fats and triglycerides like in the tissue as well, which does play a big role. And that's kind of the super compensation thing that happens when you do carb up. So
yeah. And so it was very, like, it was kind of a fun exercise. Like, I think I've said a couple of times on stream that moving around and like playing with different things with food helped keep things manageable. And like having a week where I had to do keto for a few days and then like do that again, like just eating, honestly, like eggs. It was the first time I had eaten eggs in 15 weeks because I just was avoiding them to keep my fats down. eggs, like salami, cheese, like fibrous carbs, and honestly, like I had some fun with things like Quest has their like low net carb stuff.
Yeah, it's like their keto friendly stuff.
The keto friendly stuff, and some of that stuff tastes really good, but when you're just on a regular cut diet, it's like, can I justify 11 grams of fat?
Yeah, it's so high in fat.
From a protein bar.
Even in a bulk, I have issues with that. I was like, this has 12 grams of fat in it? Like, no. The fuck? No.
That's what's making it taste good, but also, yeah, I don't know where I could fit this in. So, yeah, no, the first week was scary, and I almost didn't do it, and then we ended up doing kind of a half-ass version of it, where I put in more carbs near the end of the week.
Yeah.
And I kind of miffed it. Yeah, I bailed.
I really
did. And then we were doing a comic convention and doing some cosplay, and I thought that like, okay, I'll be able to like peak up and carb up before I go and like be a buff Korok, and I just didn't. Like, I didn't get enough carbs in. I didn't plan my meals out. So when I did it for the show, I had everything planned out like to the moment, to the hour. I had my meals cooked up, ready to go, packed away. And having that first experience of not doing it correctly and not taking it seriously enough, I think really made sure that when it was time to do the real peak week,
it up.
Yeah.
And you nailed it. You absolutely nailed it. Like, we were very happy with how you peaked. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That's something I have to say. Joe is very adherent. So when we talk about adherence, it's really just about doing the damn thing. You know what I mean? Because that's what matters, is just doing it. Like, yeah, there's psychological things you have to deal with, and like sometimes you just need those breaks, and those are allotted for. But if you're not like sticking to it in general, like you got to address those things early on before you stick to a plan like this. So anyone else who's like thinking about doing a show, if you want results, you really have to stick to the plan.
Mm-hmm.
He was slightly underprepared day of. Like, I expected he was going to bring more food. He did not. So
it's all right.
Thank God people are backstage are pretty nice, but people had huge things of honey, and I was like, all right, give me this rice cake, and I would grab a rice cake out of his thing and just smother it with, eat this right now.
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
Yeah, I think I went back with like 16 ounces of water, 4 rice cakes, maybe 3 rice cakes.
Like, what are you doing? You're supposed to be eating 2 bags.
Like 4.
Packs of
That's what I
peanut butter
said.
cups.
I was like, what happened to the bags? He's like, I didn't bring them all. I was like, no, you're supposed to bring it all.
He's like snacking for a toddler. He's like, I got my snacky.
Like, nah.
So, all right, so we're getting up to the show. Let's talk a little bit about training. I know Lou isn't here, but Lou did all your programming, right, for this entire prep.
He did.
And I think he worked with you really well, especially around the running and stuff. So I don't know if you want to let's just give our shout outs right now. So shout out to Sweet Lou. He's like our APE program coordinator manager. So he does all of our workout programs. He helps a lot of people in the community. He helped Joe out with this program. And then we also have Beowulf. I just want to mention Beowulf real quick, and the Holder Heck. But Beowulf, because he helped Joe with a lot of posing and like stage presence stuff. So thank you, Beowulf, and Holder Heck, and even Bell. Thank you guys for being there, and Holder for holding the camera during the show, because we had it happen in Discord.
And screaming everything that Ari said loudly.
Yeah, we were just screaming. So, and we'll talk about that too. But that's kind of want to get into that. But let's talk about Lou and his programming method, and just give us like a quick run through of like kind of what you've been doing with Lou.
Yeah. So when we started off, my that first 4 weeks where I wasn't really getting any help at all, 4 to 5 weeks. I just about wrecked myself. Like, I was doing far too much volume. I wasn't really managing my fatigue super well. I was getting too close to failure too often, and just like really beating myself up. Lou came in, and I think he was trying really hard to have this like very he was coming at it with the approach of like, I'm not expecting you to get stronger. I'm expecting you to potentially lose a little bit of this along the way, but like, we're going to make this as easy on your joints as possible. So we started off with feeling things out at some lower rep ranges. And really, like, we stuck at 3 to 2 reps in reserve for primary movements, like the entire time. So, I mean, sorry, I'm just looking back at my spreadsheet. And really, like, you know, we were checking in probably 2 to 3 times a week. I would fill in my spreadsheet. He'd check it out. He'd give me some feedback. He helped me program between, like, one of the things that I had going on was I would have 3 days a week that I would be streaming and doing work in the home gym. And then 2 days a week where I would get up early in the mornings before I had to go into the office. And I would do like a gym workout, which, you know, I think initially there was this dance of like, he was like, well, I'll tell you like what generally to do, and then maybe you can go and figure out what actual movement you want to do, you know, based on all this. But I had this initial, and I think it was during the period where we were trying to figure out the nutrition stuff, and maybe my numbers were a little bit too low. I had this dip in strength, and then it just like plateaued and evened out for the rest of the prep, because largely because of like we weren't getting close to failure, except for on some like isolation on some isolation movements where it made a little more sense, and also getting just it wasn't like super high volume. It wasn't like 20 reps, and anytime I got anywhere close to that kind of volume, he was like really pulling me back and being like, you don't have to do that much, like we'll put you up 5 pounds and we'll get you back down. But you know, like so many props to Lou for just like really being conscious of like I had some moments where I think I had main character syndrome, where I was like, yeah, I'll be fine, I can do this, like I'm not gonna break down. And he saw that coming a mile away and was like, listen, if you keep this up, like it's not going to turn out well for you, and was willing to be like kind and supportive, but also just telling me exactly what I didn't want to hear.
Yeah, I think we all had to kind of do that with you.
Yeah,
I think there were like key moments, like especially telling you to not run, and like, you know, just little moments about like after the show and all that stuff. That's like it sticks with you, and I think it's going to be valuable for your next time, because you're going to be like, I've been through this before, you know what I mean? Yeah. So even like the whole programming of your workouts, you know, like there are people who get really strong through their prep, but like they're also not running, you know, like you are. So I mean, there's a lot of factors, and you're actually like an enigma. You're tough to dial in because of all the expenditure. But with that said, you know, the fact you were able to eat as much as you did and got to where you were at the end, man, it was like it kind of worked out beautifully. So I'm very happy with like how it turned out. So with that, let's before we get into the actual show day stuff, let's talk a little bit about like getting you prepped for posing. So just so you guys know, Jason and I and Beowulf, we all kind of, you know, collabed a bit. Jason did quite a bit of the legwork with getting Joe like fine-tuned for posing. We've had some sessions online. And then when we actually got him in person day before the show, we did quite a few changes, but I think they stuck really well. Yeah. So Jason, why don't you walk us through like the posing, what he needed to work on, and let's talk about like key poses and stuff. Like, I just want to hear from Joe too a little bit about like, who are your influences? Like, who do you look at and you say, I want to look like this, or like bodybuilders or whatnot. So take it away, boys.
I mean, for me, it's pretty. Quarter turns are always going to be like the big thing for me, and then, you know, your main mandatory poses. So, and a lot of them, especially the quarter turns, are just awkward, and it takes a lot of time and a lot of practice for a lot of people to dial those in. And, you know, for Joe, it was no different, right? You know, he had a pretty big issue with, you know, engaging his lats. And that was pretty true even up until the show day. I mean, I got him to fire pretty well prior from one of our online sessions, just by, you know, picking up, you know, object cues like the stick and stuff like that. I think that really helped you out a lot. And then, so it's not like we went all the way up to show day with no lat engagement, but then, you know, I mean, when we were backstage and I was like, whoa, and I could see it, and I could see what was happening. And I was like, see these little divots here? It's because you're pushing your scaps down. And the moment you stop doing that and let them come out, your teres just came out way more. And it was evident in posing. So, I mean, you had a couple issues with just lower body, just focusing
like
on
glute engagement.
figuring out where your lower body had to be, and even day of show on stage, I noticed there was a couple flubs, but I don't think it mattered at all. Clearly, it didn't. It was like one leg was back when it should have not been back. I was like, that's fine. It's fine. I don't think they're not looking at that. They're like, they didn't even look at you. They're like, this guy's the winner. We're going.
Yeah, I think there's a level of poise you had just from like your general practice, but also I think you had some confidence going in there, just like going through it so many times. Maybe with us like live probably helped you quite a bit. But we'll get into the videos in a minute. But I mean, you on stage, it was like you guys will tell in chat like the difference from like that first posing thing that we saw of Joe to when he's on stage. It's actually incredible, the change.
And we'll play him again.
Yeah, so so we did some posing when we were there. We made a couple adjustments, and you guys will see them. We don't have to get into the minutia of that, but let's just talk a little bit right before you get on stage, just a handful of the procedural things. So this is just to talk about the show itself. This is OCB. It's a natural show. They do drug testing. They do a lie detector. They do tanning at the venue. So I want Joe to kind of bring us through that and like your thoughts on it. And because I know like you were pretty nervous, so we could see. So take us through your mindset for that whole process.
Yeah. So I mean, having the, just not sure like what order to take this in. So again, like the food thing, it felt good to have it all planned out, and it felt good to talk about that with both of you beforehand, so that there weren't any questions about like what it was that I needed to be doing. And like timing stuff was a little bit strange, but the progression was like you would get your tanning slot and your polygraph slot, which would take place at a hotel the night before the show. And then you weren't going to find out when or where you needed to go to do your touch-up tan the following morning. But I had like set it up so that my tan and my polygraph slot were right next to each other, because I figured like, okay, I'll go knock out the polygraph and then I'll go like do this whole tanning thing. I almost failed my polygraph test because I was so nervous, which like,
that's pretty funny.
This is like, it is the strangest anxious feeling to be sitting there and you've got this thing like wrapped around your chest that is like tracking your breathing and your heart rate, to like feel yourself getting worked up and know that you're getting worked up is a problem. But like you can't stop it, right? It was yeah. So I remember sitting in the chair. He's like, stare at the wall, answer these questions, say these phrases. And at one point he like stopped typing and he's like, just so you know, you're failing the test right now. Is there something you want to tell me? And I'm like, I think what I literally said to him was, it has been very important to me to not use substances in preparing for this. And like, I'm just really nervous right now, but I'm going to do my best to follow instructions or whatever.
I'm just really nervous, man.
Yeah, like
he came out of it like he saw a fucking ghost. Just like he came out of there, he was like, ah.
Worst experience of my life. Like I almost failed that. Like
yeah, it's like the spiral, right? It's like all the last 20 weeks of, if I don't get my emotions under control right now, and they say that I can't compete because I got nervous, right? Like
that would have been wild.
That would have been just completely, yeah. Anyway, got through it, sort of laughed it off, but then went to do the tan thing. We had talked about, and if anyone has not done a spray tan before, we can kind of go through this. Yeah, get naked. Which I'm very thankful for. And I will say why. You walk in and they will ask you, like, did you bring something, or like, did you bring a sock or anything like that, or would you like a cover garment? And I had gotten some framing for this, but a cover garment is basically like this mesh thong that they give you with a little, just like little strings wrapping around. And then they put you inside of a little booth, and there's people getting sprayed around you. Like a pop-up tent. Yep, like a little, like a changing tent that you would have for camping. Camping. Yeah. Yep. And then they start going. And I think the moment that I went from being like kind of nervous to just like, well, this is what it is, and it's kind of funny, is she's like, can you, like the woman who was, her name was Joanne, who was like doing my tan, was like, yeah, can you just like pull that over to the side? And I looked down and just my junk was just hanging right out, and I had no idea. And I was like, okay, well, I guess we're comfy now.
You're welcome,
friends.
Joanne.
Yeah.
You're welcome, Joanne.
Well, we had a nice conversation. You know, she was very nice. She used to do shows, and then she started doing tanning.
The tan looked good too. Like she did a great job. I think the tan was awesome.
Yeah, she went pretty heavy on my face. That was
She
one.
did.
Yeah.
She did, but it
I
didn't
don't
look like it didn't look bad.
Day
on
of
stage.
it was-
I mean,
yeah, day of
it
it was
honestly
fine.
was fine.
Yeah,
Yeah,
day of it was fun.
it's kind of
Yeah.
like you see it and it's kind of shocking, but I think on stage it's normal. But yeah, walking around it's kind of embarrassing. I get it.
Yeah, no, and I got in my car and I saw myself in the mirror and I just started laughing. Like,
You even came out of the tan and you were like, your anxiety was so high out of the tan. You're like, your shoulders were up and you put your bags down.
You're like, I don't want to ruin this tan.
So I ruined my tan.
And we're just like,
The best.
do you want to go
sidebar,
home?
bro.
Do you just want to, like, we don't have
Yeah,
to
we
go
were gonna
upstairs and do
pose.
more posing. You can go
Yeah.
home if you want.
So yeah, you
Yeah.
just go. But
It's
the
like,
best
just
thing
go.
is, so it's like I don't know what time
Just go
it was.
relax.
It was
It was
pretty
pretty
late.
late. It was pretty late.
And I get a phone call from Joe, and I had talked to Beowulf on his stream earlier, and he's like, after he showers and stuff, and I kind of brushed it off because I'm like, showers? Why would he shower?
God.
Like it's a tan.
Yeah. It's like, no.
Like
do not
somehow
shower.
Beowulf got a hold of Joe and was like, hey, when are you gonna shower?
Fucking
And then
Beowulf.
Joe calls me, do I shower? I'm like, no, don't fucking shower.
Dude,
Did you talk to Beowulf? He's like, yeah. I'm like, no shower. I'm like,
No.
don't do that. I think
Well, no,
it was just a miscommunication, something different that Joe does.
Yeah,
that
Ari
we don't
looks at
do
me
here.
and he's like, I knew it. He was gonna...
I knew he was gonna say something to him.
I felt so bad because like I wasn't gonna say it was Beowulf, and when you were just like,
No,
did
we
you talk
knew.
to Beowulf? I was
We
like,
knew. We knew because we were watching his stream earlier, and he mentioned something about and he was like,
Brushed
did
it
you
off,
just say
'cause I was like, oh, you
did he
don't
say something
shower.
about shower? Like, you're not supposed to shower after you get a tan. What the fuck is this?
So I think what he did was he got like some base coat really early, and then you get like one, and then the finisher, right? You get like basically 3 total. You got one and like
and
touch-ups.
that was it.
So yeah, so like, there's no reason to shower. But yeah, that was really funny. That was a really funny time.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we're gonna get into the show. So you had Jason backstage, who's helping you pump up, helping you with posing. Backstage, I'm sure nerve-wracking, but I'll have Jason and you talk about the backstage stuff, and then maybe you can start playing the debut comparisons, Jason. I think that'll be a good for you guys to talk about. You guys can play the debut comparisons.
yeah. You want to talk about it first, Jason?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was, that essentially the third time doing it, but I was like, you know what, let's try to find a comfortable place that we can just sit out and chill. And it was nice that it was like at a high school auditorium, so they had like the makeup, all those have the makeup rooms with all the seats and the lights and everything. Too bad the lights weren't very bright and they were a weird orange color, but it was like, all right, it's warm enough in here. You're not going to get cold. We can just kind of sit around and wait. And then eventually, I had you move upstairs just because it was like, it'll be a whole lot easier to stage the way we need to stage things if we're upstairs. But I didn't want you to be cold for the majority of the time. So most of the time we were down where we couldn't see anything. And it was oddly stuffy in there anyways, but yeah.
Yeah, we couldn't hear anything that was happening.
Yeah.
Like I thought there would be some sort of a PA system
PA,
so
there
we
was
could
no
at least
PA.
hear the announcers.
Yeah.
But like if you were down there, like you had no idea what was happening.
Yeah, and I was
upstairs,
getting tired
so-
of going back and forth upstairs. I was like,
Yeah.
let's just move our stuff upstairs, and then it's more fun up there anyway. It is a little colder, but we can, if you want to wear a thing until you need to get extra, they'll give you extra touch-ups. It's fine. Just put your clothes on, and we can pump up from there. But yeah.
Yeah, it was all fine. So we just kind of moved around a little bit, tried to keep warm. And we had talked about it beforehand that like there's gonna be, like this little bit of pumping and a little bit of band
Hitting.
workout stuff that you do like 30 to 40 minutes before you go on stage. That's really to just start warming things up. And then about 10 minutes before we we're gonna go on, it was like, all right, this is
Balls
where
to
we
the
start
wall.
to really pick things up, right? This
Balls
is where the the peanut butter cups go in my mouth, and we start taking like we did some no stim pre before we went on. That I'm really glad I picked that up because I love that stuff. That is
So you also you forgot salt too, so that was a problem.
Salt. Yeah, yeah.
And I went around. I was like, somebody's got to have a bunch of salt. And it like the few people I asked, they had like a couple of the packets. Because initially I was like, it's fine. I'll just go down to the hotel cafeteria or whatever and grab a bunch of salt packets. I was like, oh wait, we're in a high school. I can't do that. And then I was like, all right, well somebody's got to have like brought a whole thing of salt, which was surprising that nobody brought like a bag of salt or even a whole container of salt. And one person offered me like some salt packets, and I was like, do you have more than this? And they're like, no. I was like, well, I don't want to take your
only
salt
packets. Like,
yeah,
dude.
because in my mind I was like, what happens if I take their salt and they feel like you edged them out because I took their salt? And I was like, nah, not like you take your. And I was like, you know what? We're just gonna use this no stim more than we normally would to counteract
this
the fact that we don't
specifically
have.
for people who are watching. This is to get a pump. This is to make sure the muscles are pumped. Right?
Muscles are
that's
pumped,
important. You wanna look
vascularity.
big on stage.
Extra vascularity. So I was like, screw it. We have you brought a whole thing of no stim. So like every 15 minutes we're gonna take a little bit of this and take a little bit of water, and you're gonna go nuts. But pretty much almost any time. I mean, he had to get on stage a couple times, so anytime right after you got off stage, it would be like, all right, take another thing, go pump up.
Speaking of, let's bring up the let's do a commentary on the actual debut. So let's bring them out. So I think we're gonna show the debut comparisons, and then we'll show the overall, the win and the overall, and then we'll show the open comparisons. I think that'll be enough.
Yeah, let me see which one. I don't know what is what. I
Yeah,
don't know what
they're
is
not
what.
labeled. Just double click on them until you see them. It's not the one with the black guy.
No, this is
awards. It's gonna be the longest one. It's gonna be one of the
Also
biggest. It's gonna be one of the biggest files.
biggest files.
Yeah, I should have renamed them when I uploaded them, but I just uploaded them right from the phone.
This one's pretty long.
It's gonna be like one of the first ones. It's pretty long.
Also,
As
nope.
far as number 38. No, that's jumping ahead. Now they know.
Oh, that's his.
That's the routine. We don't need that.
Yeah, don't need that. All right, I think.
Can't you see it in order? No.
Oh, it came through in like 3 different things.
Good job. Good job. Good job.
Number 34. Scoot down just a little bit. There you go.
Good job, man.
So yeah, so this is the debut.
36 and 38.
Yeah, perfect.
Judges, please angle in a little bit. There you go. Thank you.
I'm a little behind, but we had Joe kind of turn toward the judges, or the judges kind of told him to turn.
Yeah, so when I initially walked out, the person who walked out in front of me, someone just stood in the wrong spot.
This fucking guy. Like, he fucking walks out, and instead of standing, like, this guy comes, he stands where he's supposed to go. This guy comes, and he's
stands
supposed
right
to
in the middle
stand
of the
next to
stage.
it. And it said, this fucking idiot just stands in the middle, and I'm over here on the sidelines, be like, what is that guy doing? And then so this guy, because he thinks you're supposed to be that far away, naturally ends up making the same gap. And then this guy's like, I guess I'll just go in this hole.
Yeah. And for anyone watching, just a reminder, this is debut, so none of us had been on a stage before.
Yeah.
So then I walk out, and I'm just like, all right.
He's like,
I'm
I'll
not
stand
really
here, I
sure,
guess. I guess I'll
what
stand
to
here.
do. I'll go over here.
Judges, Joe.
So just to show, so you guys can really see the level of conditioning Joe has. Like, you see everyone, they're pretty shredded. Then you see Joe come out, and he's the last guy to come out. And he's quite a bit bigger, but also diced.
Shredded. like, look, the moment he takes this pose, like, everything just comes out. He's like, I'm just chilling. He's like, I'm just chilling. It's fine. Nothing. Like watch his legs when he takes his pose. Just
Yeah. So they move him around a bit. They get Joe in the middle, and then let's just have him go through the mandatories, I guess, from wherever.
Yeah, so
Actually,
like,
just,
all
you
right,
could just
so
let
they-
it play.
They move people around. Yeah, they're moving people around. 38, get in between. 38 and 16. He's like, where's that? Like right there in the middle. He's like, where? Oh.
Is there audio? Because I don't know if they can hear me screaming behind the phone, which is really funny.
Yeah, there is. There is audio. Yeah.
Yeah, that was that. I'd been told that OCB didn't really do as much of the like stand in the middle if you're doing well, but like
they did.
It felt very good.
Yeah.
To get moved to the middle.
They do in these comparisons. I know for it, they don't tend to do that with like their overall stuff. They just kind of leave you where you are at, where everybody's at.
So you'll hear me yell some cues in here. So I told Joe I was going to yell at him just for some of the cues. So like you're going to be yell arm early on.
Nice. Yeah.
Yes. So we changed some of the stuff. Like for example, we weren't going to go with this straight arm back pose, but it just looks better on his frame.
Yeah.
So we decided to stick with it, and it's not very traditional. Like we followed J3U and Daniel Coffey, and it's not like a pose that he would necessarily recommend. But I think for his frame, it worked really well. But yeah, I think here like everything worked like flawlessly as far as like just your poise and conditioning and how you were presenting yourself. It worked really well. Just seeing like how these guys are set up and who's up there. So from what Joe was saying earlier, even though he won his debut class, realistically, they're looking for someone who's a little bit softer probably than Joe, maybe even the guy next to Joe to the left.
Yeah.
But Joe, I think, came in so undeniably conditioned and poised with his posing that I think that's really what won him the show.
Because it looked like he knew what he was doing, because he did.
And Lauren and I talked about this a little bit, that the amount of time that I spent practicing on stream in front of other people, like even though it wasn't on stage, that wasn't it.
I mean, you can, like, just from this right here, everyone here is doing this pose 100% incorrectly except for you. Everyone is sticking their butt out towards the judges. Like from the side, this is what everybody's doing. This is what everybody is doing except for Joe. From the side. That's what they're doing.
Yeah.
That is what they're doing. Every single one of them.
And one of the progress photos I sent, I'm doing that same thing. It's the one where I'm wearing the blue shorts.
Yeah, we fixed that real quick, didn't we?
Yeah.
I think in the hotel room, like when we went through some of those things, especially the glute activation, it clicked in your head. And when you're on stage, you're like, oh, that's like the position I need to be in. And when you're doing it from behind, it's really hard to know because you're not looking at yourself.
Yeah, you can't see.
You're relying on feedback from other people. Until you're there and you're sitting in it, like when we were in the hotel room, guys, I had Joe like do the poses and hold them for like 10 seconds and then do a round of them a couple times. And just to get it in his head that it's like, all right, this is where I need to be, so that way he doesn't revert back when he's on stage. And he didn't. Just the only time he did, I think, was the very first pose, was when he went back to the normal pose, and I said arm. Yeah. He put his arm straight, and it was like, okay, this is where I want to be.
Yeah.
So it was really nice. So now you'll see he won't. His arm just goes back. It's like perfect every time. So what was it like being on stage with these guys? Was it just kind of like a blur at this point? Do you remember any of this?
Total blur.
Yeah.
Like I think the way I explained it to one of my family members at that barbecue was like, you do all the posing practice, and then when you're walking out on stage, and the moment you hit your spot, there's this moment of like, oh, I'm supposed to just pose now. There's no one that tells you like walk out and do a front relaxed. It's like, I'm here, I need to do my pose. And so like that feeling of just, this is where I need to trust that all of the muscle memory from every morning that I woke up and did my mandatories first thing, and every night that I spent another 10 to 15 minutes running through it before going to bed, like I just need to trust that I remember that my muscles know what to do at this point, and I can do the dance. But I honestly, like, I was super proud to stand on stage with these guys. I think the one who is second from the left there in this photo, or in this view, is that the dude who lost 130
No,
pounds?
it's the guy on the very far
It's
right.
it's Carlos. This guy. This guy was like 300 pounds.
His name wasn't Carlos. It's a different Carlos. But that's the guy who won. Yeah. I
This
mean, that's the
guy-
guy who lost all the weight.
This guy used to weigh 300 pounds.
That's right. Yeah. Just like, yeah. I mean, like that was another cool thing. Like I think one of you mentioned early on, like networking was going to be a thing that happened, and just like talking to these dudes and hearing their stories, like, was just really, really cool.
You know, it's funny. It's interesting to me, like going there and talking to these guys, and we talked to a bunch of guys there too, and it was like the first timers, you know, they had some online resources, but you know, it made me realize like what we're doing in our Discord, not to plug the Discord, but realistically, it's like a lot of these guys could use, and like they can get a lot of the information that you got for free from people who have done this. And it's like, it's great because like if they were using it, you know, they'd probably destroy you on stage. I'm just kidding. I think,
no, I mean, like
honestly,
to the point of like the criteria, right? And one of the reasons that I think after, like, there was the, you know, Blue's point of not doing better in open. And when I went back and read these criteria, and if it's okay if I just read it.
Yeah.
It takes 4 elements into account: ample muscularity, good definition, but not to the extreme, symmetry and presentation. Targeted look is a little less extreme than in men's bodybuilding. Shall
you were on
display
the
visible.
cusp.
Yeah. It was the physique should not appear overly shredded, vascular, grainy, overly dense, or thick, but should display a balance between size and symmetry, complemented by clear lines between muscle groups, without cross-striated muscle groups as displayed in bodybuilding. So they didn't want striations. Like to where I think I fell short in that open was the person who, the dude who beat me, he looked relaxed as hell. Like he did not look like he was struggling in any way. But yeah, sorry to distract from.
Oh no, I think this is valid. So I think like we'll show the open thing, right? But like I think Jason skipped over the awards for the debut, but like your debut obviously
this
like
is awards for debut.
No, this is the finals for debut. This is the overall debut. Like he won his class first, but that's okay. This is the overall. So he won his class first, and now he's on stage against the other winners of the other classes. So it's A, B, and C. So Joe's in B. So they're about to announce the winner, and Joe, you can go through it. Actually, you can just play that one.
See, I want to find it.
The debut one. Anyway, but realistically, looking at some of those guys based on those criteria, like maybe knowing what those are, and when we go to the open, we'll see it. And we'll say, all right, yeah, maybe that's the case. But regardless, you know, I think your posing as far as on stage with all these other guys was one of the best, if not the best, for Classic, in my opinion. I think you absolutely nailed it.
Thank you, Ari.
So you'll see like we get so hyped when he wins.
That
this,
Cobra.
Like, yeah. So this is a great video because this is like when he wins, and I'm just like so stoked.
Well, and the way that they like call you out is anyone watching will see this, but you know, they start with 5th place, they'll call up 5th place, and then they'll work their way down. And so each time they were calling out another name, it's like there's that thing in the back of your head of like, oh man, they're gonna say my name. They didn't say my name.
I mean,
that must have been wild to feel that up there.
Yeah, like. And thankfully we did talk about like what to do while we're standing and waiting on the side of the stage, because I just felt that is such an awkward spot to be standing in, because like you're not being judged, but like you're also like still kind of being judged in a sense. Yeah, we were so stoked for you, dude. It was like me and Ben were going crazy in the
the whole time in comparisons, and they just kept you in the middle. And they didn't move you an inch, and I'm like on the side of the stage, like trying to cheer and you know like yell out cues, and the whole time I'm just like fighting back tears. So I'm like, as from a coaching standpoint, I'm just like, holy fuck, like you did this, but I also like validated myself in doing this. So it was like, yeah. So I was like, holy fuck.
He gets him there, B-Wolf. He left him hanging for a second, then he gets him at the end.
No, we were both crying backstage.
Yeah.
I was like, man, I gotta get out again, but like I gotta
Yeah,
get
it's
my
like, let's
shit
not-
together. But
Yeah.
Let's not fuck your tan up.
So let's go through. I guess we'll just go through the debut overall. We'll just go toward like the ending. They made him pose quite a bit up there, and then we'll go to the open and just show like how they did the open. And we'll show who won.
I can't even see the. I don't even see the open comparisons. I've clicked on every one of these, but let me hold on. Let me find the overall. This is the overall. Okay, this is the overall. This is the debut overall.
Nice.
It might be one of these ones, actually. Maybe.
Glutes.
And these guys really did have great posing. Because I watched this one. The fella in the middle, I think, had just some of his mandatories felt a little bit awkward, but like, he had a really wide back, and he knew how to show it off.
Let's go. We're big.
Yeah.
Big, big.
Jason, I put the in chat. The last numbers are 2193 for that video for the open.
All right, yeah, I found it. Yeah. It was moved.
Let's get it. Nice and wide.
He also had a good sneer. I put the pro photos in
Yeah,
the
so
folder inside of our folder.
I think the pro photos are going to be awesome to show at the end because it's really. I think those photos turned out fantastic, especially the abdominal and thigh pose you got. Oh man, it is glorious. The one that's your profile photo.
Nice. Perfect.
Yeah, your back shot improved so much, dude. Like your glutes were like you nailed the glutes. I know it might be a little too lean for OCB, but honestly, dude, like you look very complete as a bodybuilder on here. Like
Let's get it.
you're
Nice.
we'll talk about this in a little bit, but your only
Nice, Joe.
Look at
path
that.
forward really is just like increasing size
That's it.
and like density. Like your legs are great, you know, putting on more size in your legs are great, but like your shoulders, your chest, your back.
Arms.
And that's going to be, yeah, arms. That's going to be something that you just do. I think the way you're training your legs and stuff are going to be fine, especially for classic. In my opinion, your legs don't need to be overly developed for classic, and you are like at a really good spot.
Yeah.
Very
It's,
symmetrical. Calves are insane.
Yeah, the calves, you know,
The running.
I don't know. I was really worried my legs weren't going to be big enough. Like throughout the entire prep, just like I kind of fixated on the runner legs thing, and that I'd always kind of been fighting that a little bit. But
Legs.
no, when they showed out, I was really happy with that. I think a lot of the work that I did with Lou in that last like 16 weeks really helped my hamstrings and glutes. Because if I never have to do another RDL, like I know I'm gonna have to do RDLs, but if I never had to do another fucking RDL, I would be so happy. I was so sick of them, but they worked. They worked
RDLs
so well.
they're powerful. Mm-hmm. So here they're about to announce it.
You're holding this for so long, you're just like losing everything. You're like, I can't squeeze my legs anymore.
Uh-huh.
Overall classic physique debut winner is
Yeah, they made us hold it for a long time while they were deliberating. Yeah.
I lost my voice there on that.
Solid win.
Oh, I was screaming, dude. One of my best moments in my life.
It's a good win.
He's a pro, dude.
And then they fucking did this.
And then they
This is
did
when it
this.
gets
And then they
weird,
fucking
yeah.
did this.
I was even like, he's a pro. I was like, what the fuck? He's a pro?
I had no idea what they were doing.
That's I know.
Like,
I was backstage
like,
like, does debut winners get okay.
Now you're smiling.
Either way, you're pro to us. So.
Yeah, you're our pro.
thanks, Dad.
You're our pro,
Yeah.
dude.
So let's show the open, and then we'll show the actual photos, the show photos, and then we'll just talk about like general improvements, and then we'll close it out.
Sounds good.
Thoughts about future shows? I know we talked about this on your stream, but maybe we could talk about that right now. So now you've gone through this process. Talk us through it.
Of just like future and Like whether
whether you want to do another show. I know you say you definitely do, and you want to start focusing more on aesthetics. But talk us through like maybe your general idea of what an ideal plan would be for you. 18 months, whatever.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think what I initially said when I was in the cut was that I wanted to have at least I wanted to have at least 2 bulks before I did another show. And like that would mean some pretty long cycles unless I went a little shorter. But I don't really know if that's gonna be the thing, because I promised my wife that I would wait at least a year before doing another show, and that doesn't mean I have to wait a year before I do another prep. So like, you know, that's haha timelines, but there is a very, I think, mildly sore loser part of me that wants to try to do an OCB show with a shorter prep that is just less focused on conditioning, knowing that what they're looking for isn't necessarily that really cut up look, or that like if I was just a little more comfortable posing and was able to show things off a little more according to their guidelines, that like I could have had a pretty good shot even if I had done 4 fewer weeks of really like head in a hole nasty dieting. So I mean, I think that kind of feeds into it, but I also want to respect the process. Like that's more important to me than anything. Is like I'm not gonna walk backstage thinking that like I just kind of stumbled into it and didn't prepare as well as I could have, because that wouldn't feel very good, even if I did walk away with a win.
So still up in the air about like exactly what you want to do, but those are kind of the scenarios you're thinking.
Yeah.
Okay. By the way, just to reiterate, if you did this in an NPC show, you are undeniably the overall show winner.
Yeah.
Just letting you know.
I mean, I've looked at this video several times, and I know you're looking at the guidelines, but I've seen other people's, not in person, but seen other people's OCB shows, and they're shredded. So it's not. And yeah,
I think they didn't want you to sweep, in my opinion. But
I also
we don't
believe
have to
that.
get in our head about that. I just know that you looked absolutely fantastic, and even if you went into it, maybe a little less dice. Yeah. Like I wouldn't put too much emphasis on one or the other. I think it's just improving in general. You know what I mean? Because
without you being in debut, they don't know that it's your first show ever. They have no idea. And I feel like if you were in novice and open, you would have swept. And not done it. But like, you know, we don't know. We didn't know that.
Yeah.
Like that's
no, yeah.
That's a dumb, especially after the feedback and from, you know, the email that you got. I'm like, okay, they're like, well, we can't really give debut. Yeah. I was like, why not? If they're clearly the front runner, like it seems weird.
The promoter was taking videos of you only. Like you had like, multiple shots. You like they didn't take a picture of that other guy. You know what I mean? Like you definitely came in there and people recognized, people noticed you, dude. Like you absolutely nailed it. Like even all these poses here on these open guys, like your posing was undeniably the best posing on stage.
I mean, like this guy is still pushing his butt back. Pushing his butt back. This guy was actually posing properly. He just was like doing it weird. This guy was obscene. I'm like you can even see how extreme this guy's butt
your trunks were incredible too, by the way.
This guy, right. Everybody's pushing their butt back and doing a weird thing, so it looks funny. Like this guy wasn't even leaning back; he was like just forward. He was doing the pose properly, but he was just leaning forward in a weird way. Because I'm off to the side, like to the stage right, and like so I can see how everybody's standing. I'm like, this is ridiculous. I'm like, what?
So just to go through it here. So the guy in the far right won. Joe got second. I wasn't sure who got third, fourth, and fifth, but we were surprised. But at the same time, Joe kind of went through the guidelines, so it kind of makes sense. The guy is definitely bigger, obviously, right?
Yeah.
He was huge. Yeah.
He was pretty big.
But yeah, I mean, regardless, Joe had an amazing showing, and like overall debut is amazing. Even second in your class with a group this deep is insane. So
yeah,
congratulations.
I'm very proud of that. Yeah, no, like to take second on that stage was still just extremely validating for
this guy
all the
got,
work.
I think this guy got third. I could be
Maybe.
wrong.
But let's go through, I guess, I don't know if you want to go through more of these poses, but we can go through the photos and then we can kind of talk a little bit about like just improvements, and then we can kind of end it there. So
Yeah.
So in my opinion, I think the photos turn out amazing. Jason will pull them up in a second. I think just overall, like, you know, density getting just bigger in general, and I think maybe having slightly higher body fat levels will help with that for sure if you're not in a prep for that long, so maintaining a little more size. But I think for like a solid off season, in your particular case, it's really just upper body stuff, man. Like your waist is a good size, your legs are actually pretty good. Just keep your body going as is, but maybe a little more focus on like the shoulders and the lats and the chest, you know?
Yeah. I've been trying to balance out my chest for years, and it's definitely like it's come a long way. I still have this kind of divot on my right side, and I think that did come from there was like just some scapular issues that I've had over the years that took a long time to get worked out, but now that I went through the full PT for that, I'm starting to actually able to like use my chest a little more properly and do a lot more of the fly movements that are helping to kind of build that out. But yeah, I mean, chest, shoulders are big priorities for me. I think I really want to keep practicing posing in the off season and finding a way to work that into my routine. Yeah.
Your biggest challenge, I think, in this off season for posing is getting those lats to release fully. Because even on stage, like you could tell they're still even in this pose,
tight.
they're a little tight. They're a little stacked. So like your shoulder blades are coming back a little bit too much. So I think that's just something you got to play with, and we can work with you, you know, to get that going. But yeah, I think overall, like this package itself is great. So it's like if you just keep improving on this, dude. I mean, it's it's not a major improvements really.
I wish I could.
So are you going to have Lou help you with some bodybuilding related routines and a program to kind of improve those weak points, you'd say, or what's your plan with that?
Yeah, so right now Lou and I have been negotiating what it looks like for me. I don't know if I said this at any point during this call today, but I'm doing a marathon in 12 weeks. So on September 8th, and one of the reasons for it was one that a buddy of mine, Run wanted to do, and he was going to be in the local area, so we decided to meet up for this one. And like with just a lot of other things happening in life, it seemed like if I was ever going to try to do whatever name you could come up for doing a show and doing a marathon in the same year, like this was going to be the year that I tried to do that. So we are like having this back and forth on like how do we manage fatigue with trying to run what will eventually be around 40 miles per week and also lifting 3 to 4 times per week and still getting an appropriate amount of volume. But my goal is to run as little as possible, as slowly as possible, and still like adequately prepare for the race. So that's it's a fun little puzzle. It's challenging. Like we talked about it a little bit on stream today. But it's just going to be a lot of eating. Like that's, I think, been kind of the underlying support for everything has been, you know, making sure that I'm not going into workouts depleted, that when I finish a workout, that I'm getting good meals, that I'm giving enough time after my leg days and after my long runs to actually recover instead of just like trying to bust into something else. But yeah, it's not a great idea, but it is yeah.
You have a lot of goals, so you know.
Yeah. Well, no, because someone asked in chat, you know, what is the reset look like and getting back to normal look like? And one of the things that's really important for me right now is having another goal. I was talking to Michael Runs Miles, who is I think was in chat a little while ago.
Yeah, I saw him earlier.
Yeah. And I cannot imagine coming out of a show and just being like, I'm in the off season now. Like for me mentally, like I don't think it would be it would be really difficult for me to not have something else that I can focus on almost immediately after, like another goal that I can shift to, because like all the feelings that I had in that first week afterwards of here's how much I should be eating, here's how much I'm actually eating, am I moving enough, are my expenditures changing, my body is like, I'm already bloating up from just like having a couple of drinks and just like eating some damn cake, but like like you see those changes happen so quickly, and there's all those emotions behind it. And not if I didn't have something saying like, there's a race happening, so I need to like dial in and figure out what that looks like, I would be really struggling right now. Sorry to ramble.
No, I get it. Yeah. Understandable. I think we all have different like ways of thinking about this, and it's not bodybuilding isn't your, bread and butter, it's something you like to do, but you have other things going on. So I think most importantly too, like for you, like you were saying earlier, is getting that food in, making sure you're not sliding down that slippery slope of, eating disorder. So,
So when it was all over, pictures, meeting with the family, it was all, the show's done. What was like up until, I guess, until we left to go back to our hotel, like what was going through your mind?
I think I just really wanted to like be in the moment, and like that was the most important thing to me, is like having a really clear memory of what that day looked like and felt like, because I knew that there was going to be some part of me that afterwards was going to feel that just like huge drop off, right? Like there was certainly a sigh of relief. Like I think the biggest sigh of relief was actually when I ate that second packet of peanut butter cups, when I was like, I don't have to have any sort of feelings about this right now. Backstage, where it was like, yeah, like, like it's kind of going back to the whole thing of like, when like with natties, how important is peaking actually, is like the work was already done, right? Like all the work, all the preparation was done. And in that barbecue, I was standing there and I was like prepping that brat, and I was like, I'm just gonna enjoy this, and like I'm gonna enjoy this time with family and enjoy this time with friends, and just like I'm gonna start crying again. But like the amount of people, including you two, that just made all that effort to support me, I think like I wanted to drink up as much of that as I could, and just like be there and be present. And like when I saw all of those desserts, the thought of not like enjoying that in a way that I would enjoy it outside of that context, which is like take a little bit, savor it, and then maybe have a little bit more, like it felt a little strange. Like it was hard to get myself to eat like in the way that I think.
Oh, I know.
It takes time.
You're like, I'm gonna. I guess I'll have some of this cake, and you cut. I watched you cut like a little piece, and I just looked at Ari, like we're like, dude, eat the whole cake. We don't care, dude. Eat the whole cake.
It's not all gonna be fat.
It's not
today.
gonna go. Like, you're not gonna gain 10 pounds from this one. It's like that's not how this works. Just
have
like
a problem usually binging for a week. A day of a
then
few
you have a
snacks
problem.
is gonna kill you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, but it's a mental thing. It really is. So
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you
half of that cake is in my freezer, just so
you
know.
had spent.
It looked good.
I was gonna say, how much of that is actually in your? How much of all those sweets are in your freezer? Because you spent 4 or 5 months just meticulously making sure everything was on point, and now when you literally, and we both even said, like, you can, if you just don't want to track and eat whatever you want as much as you want for the next 2 days, we don't care. Just like, but on Monday, you need to reverse out, otherwise it will become a binge issue, and then that becomes problematic. But you like did it, you weren't doing it. We're like,
he's hyper responsible.
Just fucking eat. Like I wanted to take the cake and just do what my wife wouldn't, and shove it in your mouth on,
I don't know, man. I honestly, like the whole thing, having your family hosting the barbecue and just us being there, dude. I loved every minute of it. It was an amazing experience. It was a nice little time away for me, and it was great meeting with the fam and you and Holder and Belle, because like we built a relationship on Twitch, and it kind of blossomed outside of Twitch. We're all really good friends now, I would say, and it's like this is what it's about, like supporting each other, and this is what this is, and this I get more out of this than you realize. So I mean, I really love that we were able to do this.
Thanks for being
And
there, guys.
you know, I've never been to Michigan, so
Me either. It was
Yeah.
an experience. We
And I
walked
almost-
around the mean streets of.
I
Grand
almost
Rapids.
got
It was great.
high score on a fucking pinball machine. So that's neat.
Well, my home is always open to you guys. So if you ever find
Same
yourself
here.
nearby, yeah.
Yeah, same.
All right, we're gonna have to do another collab like this with everyone. So, just to finish this out. So again, we do have this community called APE, Aesthetic Physique Enthusiasts. It is really for people who are trying to transform their bodies or appreciate the art of bodybuilding and such. I did post a link to the Discord. You have to verify if you're gonna join. So if you're gonna join it and verify your identity, make sure you do that. It's in the rules section when you connect. But it's an awesome community of people. We talk about all sorts of things, transforming bodies, bodybuilding shows, you know, what have you. And it's really supportive. We love it there. And a lot of us are really good friends from Twitch specifically. So if you're interested, come on through.
You know, if you just
Joe,
you know,
awesome job, dude.
if you're looking for lifestyle changes or how to make those lifestyle changes, it's a great community to help, you know, support you in that change, ask questions, coaching, whatever you know. There's a lot in that Discord. So, you know, if it's something that you just this whole field of fitness and health is just a massive minefield to navigate through, especially for somebody that has no idea, because there's so much information out there. A lot of it is true, a lot of it is not true, a lot of it is gray area. So it's, you know, if you're looking for a guide through the minefield, the Discord is where you're gonna find it.
And everyone's gonna be just like, even if you're just looking for that daily check-in, you know,
Yeah.
of if you've been on a cut for a while or you've been trying to lose weight for a while, and just knowing that there are some people that you're like are also going through the same thing and are just there to share tips and like not try to sell you something while that's happening, is just like such a great break from everything else on the internet.
I think that's key. Is like, this is free, guys. It's really it's a community.
is free.
It's free. It's a community. It's where we're friends. We do these types of things. We travel to each other and hang out. You know, we're building bonds, baby. And yeah. Anyway, this was awesome, dude. I mean, congratulations, and I can't wait to see what you do in the future. Jason's gonna do a show next. I know he will. We're gonna get him a pro card. So
Probably. Rocket was talking about trying to do a show. Scornia is doing a show.
Hell yeah.
Eddie's trying to do a show.
Eddie, Beowulf, we're gonna make him come out of retirement.
He won't. He's uncoachable. We can't coach him. He's uncoachable.
Kira said he's gonna do another one, but I don't
Kira's
think
gonna do
Kira's in
another
the
one.
Discord right now. He
He is
might
not.
join us on our side. He has his own coaches and stuff, so I get it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
We could have won him a show.
And sorry, one more shout out to Sweet Lou, who just because he's in Scotland.
Oh, yeah,
couldn't
Holder
easily
said
join
maybe.
this conversation. Lou, if you're watching this later, just know, and I've tried to say it in our conversations, like, you are just as much a part of this as anyone else here, and I couldn't have done it without your help. And I think everyone in this community just appreciates you so much more than
You
we can
realize-
articulate.
Yeah.
yeah. Lou is a real one. Lou is a pillar of this community. One of the, I would say, 3 or 4 people who are doing stuff. And yeah, Lou, we love you, dude. So
We give
thank
him
you
shit,
for all
but
your
we
help.
love him for it.
Yeah. Now it's
We
time
love
for you to
Lou.
do that 20-week transformation. All right, we all
Yeah.
got to make sure we give him shit because you know he loves that. All right, dude, this is awesome. How are you signing out, Jason? I don't know.
Yeah, so you posted the link in the Discord. I will be posting a link on the YouTube to that Discord. So in case any YouTubers are watching, it will be in the description for that Discord link if you are interested. So thanks for everybody for hanging out, watching. Questions, comments, we're here to help. So that's it. Now we just I don't know. Now we just fuck around. Sure.
Just we fuck around. Ari, do you want to do like sign off, name, handles, all that stuff? We can kind of go around the circle and do that.
Yeah, so I don't stream, but you can find me on Instagram. I'm ACRO IRL on Instagram, and you can find me in the Ape Discord mostly, and usually just hang out with these guys. I am the facilitator. I try to help and get people to the right spots. That's my job.
And it's aesthetic physique enthusiast on Instagram, right?
Aesthetic
And
physique
Britney Cole.
enthusiast on Instagram as well. So, so the ACRO IRL is my Instagram handle, and then the aesthetic physique enthusiast Instagram. And if you want to find more links to Ape, you can go to apeenthusiast.com or afenth.com. There's a lot of different ones. I'll post them in chat, and you guys can find your way there.
And again, I'm CoelRunnings, Joe, and I am on Twitch 3 days a week. Currently, like getting kind of close to some partner numbers. So if folks want to come stop by a stream and help push us over, that'd be rad. But also on YouTube, Instagram, and yeah, I guess I'm on Twitter too, but I'm not really excited about Twitter right now. So anyway, thanks.
And I am Daiyabolic. And I am on this Twitch channel, this YouTube channel, Instagram, Daiyabolic. All the links are in there. Again, links to all the Discords will be in the description of the YouTube. They'll be in the Twitch information, all that stuff. Thanks, guys.